Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Comment ça va?
Ça va?
Ça va. Très bien. Bon. As we get going today, you can say comment ça va, or you can say comment allez-vous, right?
Comment allez-vous?
Which is more formal. Or comment vas-tu, right?
Comment vas-tu?
Tu. Comment vas-tu? So,
Comment vas-tu?
comment ça va is how's it going? Comment
Uh-huh.
allez-vous? And remember, we talked about the liaison, right? So, comment allez-vous? It's not comment allez-vous, it's comment allez-vous, right? Which is more formal. Or comment vas-tu is like the more informal tu form, right? Comment vas-tu? Comment ça va?
Kind of like, how's it going?
Yeah, how's it go? Comment ça va is how's it going? Comment vas-tu
Yeah.
is how are you? Comment allez-vous is a little more formal. Comment allez-vous, right?
Okay. Yeah,
Uh,
I would think of comment ça va tu? What was
You
it?
wouldn't say comment ça va tu. You would just say
Comment ça va
comment
tu?
ça va, meaning how is it or how is it going. Comment ça va is how is it going.
Right.
In other words, you say comment vas-tu is how are you going.
Yeah, exactly. How's it
Comment
going for you?
allez-vous, more formal,
Yeah.
how are you going. Comment ça va, how is it going, which is
Yes,
is more
yes.
like. But
Okay,
you can
cool.
say anything. You can say ça va bien, tout va bien, everything good, So
I
whatever.
stick with ça va.
Ça va. It's easier. Ça va, ça va. Oui, ça va. Ça va? Oui, ça va. Easy is good. Easy is good because, like all things, gradually add more. You don't have to have 5 different variations of how are you. I always take the simplest one. I stick with that, right?
Yeah, that's been my methodology too.
Yeah, we gradually add in more. So, now the other thing too that, this is lesson 2. So obviously in French, there's a number of sort of boogeymen. Pronunciation could be one. Gender, nouns or adjectives, which we can get into in another session, is another one. But of course, the verbs is something that people struggle with. And particularly if they're confronted with an enormous conjugation table up front. Because it's always seemed to me, if I'm confronted with something like that, like in Arabic, there's 7 types of verbs or something, apparently. I have yet to see that. I just ignore that. And then over time, I'll gradually become familiar with certain patterns in the language. And at some point, I'll understand why there's 7 forms of the verb. And similarly with all the different forms in French. I just take it one bit at a time, gradually get used to it. One thing, though, I should tell you, and you have, and many things that I will explain to you, I'm sure you have already noticed. For example, because you are a Spanish speaker, in French you always have to use the pronoun, right? In Spanish that's not the case, right? In Spanish you don't have to say yo, okay?
Exactly. And you start to learn over time that it's redundant and it's irrelevant. Like you can say that, but it's just so not necessary that you sound overly formal when you say that usually.
In Spanish.
Yes, exactly. So
But
then
not in French.
I'm trained out of doing it when I'm learning French.
And that can be pointed out, but it's also something you gradually get used to because you start to hear phrases and speak in phrases, and inevitably in French, the pronoun is there. And there's a very good reason for that, and that is because the endings, even if they're written differently, may sound the same. Je mange, tu manges, il mange, il plural mange, all sounds the same. So if you're not reading, you do have to, and of course the context helps, but in fact we always use the pronoun. But I just wanted to mention that so many things, in different language books, they feel obliged to teach you some aspect of the grammar in every lesson. And so you start getting more and more of these complicated things that describe something that you haven't yet experienced, and it becomes more and more difficult to keep track of all these things. Whereas if you don't worry about it and just accept the fact that through regular exposure, looking up words as we do on LingQ, reading, listening again, listening again, slowly these things start to become a little bit familiar. And so you don't have to learn all these rules or aspects of the grammar up front. You can come back later on and gradually get a better and better sense of how these things work. So, with that said, let's have a look at your lesson, and in particular, if you have any particular issues that you would like to talk about. So maybe you could share your screen.
Cool. That sounds good. Here we go. Okay, so I think we need to start at Histoire 7.
Okay, I see you've been doing a number of different lessons in different parts of LingQ. That's good. One should always explore.
Yes. Yes, I've been enjoying the mini stories. They are a really great help. So it looks like I've gone through about half of the 6th one. So let's just start at 7 to start fresh.
One thing I would say with the mini stories, at least based on my experience, they are kind of like going to the gym as opposed to playing sports, right? So you need to be fit. You need to be fit, so you go to the gym and you work on your core. Like I see the mini stories as working the core, because they have all of the, and this is true in French, it's true in all the languages, they have all the high frequency verbs, which you need to speak, has a lot of the basic structures of the language. And I start with them, get bored, explore somewhere else, but I always come back to them, because however much we learn and understand and speak, we always need to go back and reinforce the core, the basic structures of the language. So the mini stories are a place that I go to over and over and over again, over a year. I always go back to them. But when we're in them and we're bored with them, then we want to go out and explore other content. But today we're going to do the mini stories. Okay. Now, one thing we should point out is that we can look at them in sort of the page view or the sentence view.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and right now I'm in sentence view.
Right. Maybe show on your screen where that...
yeah, so here's the sentence view, and then over here is paragraph view, I suppose.
Well, we call it page view because it's...
Page view.
Yeah, it can have 2 paragraphs.
Yeah, the whole page here.
One thing I point out, is that the way we switch back and forth, toggle back and forth between sentence view and page view is going to change. So it could be that someone looking at this a month from now will find a different way of switching back and forth. But that doesn't matter. It'll be self-evident. But the main thing is that you have the option of reading these as a whole page or as sentences.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And the cool thing about sentence view is that it has the full translation right here.
Right.
Instead of with the page view, where of course you're going to have your definitions to the right.
Right.
So depends on what you want. Right.
And it's worthwhile actually if we go up to where it says full text and there's a little arrow there. The little arrow beside full text.
Okay.
Drop that. Translation. You can see a translation there too.
Wow.
So you can actually do the whole thing, the whole translation. Now that's true of the mini stories because the translations exist. Some other content may not have a translation. This depends. What we call our link content that we have created will tend to have translations, will tend to have the full text. The full text will always be there, but the translation may not always be there. But let's get back to the text.
That's just pretty cool, though, that it has both the full text and the translation right here. I never used that functionality before.
No,
so.
And I tend not to use it because I prefer to fight my way through.
Yeah. Well, and you don't get to create links and everything through here.
Well, that's just for reference, really. But the other thing is, if we go back to the page and if we go to sentence view now. By the way, how do we get rid of that translation? Oh, there we are. Okay. So let's go to the next page because it's just one word there. Okay, so we're seeing one sentence at a time. And if you click on translate, So somebody, in fact, on the last video did say that he or she would like to see the translation of the whole thing, that not just the individual words. Mm-hmm. So the sentence view. The other thing is if you click on the sound icon, what happens?
You mean this one right here?
Yeah.
So you guys can't hear it because it's in my earbuds, but it was just, the sentence was just read in French.
So what we have here is the actual translation, the actual narration, the actual
right
voice.
from a real speaker.
Because sorry, go ahead.
just like every time I flip the page, for example, is my first link that's saved, which really shouldn't be saved at all.
Yeah.
It's telling me it's reading the words to me with the more like text to speech voice. So I would like to be able to turn that off for the sake of these lessons.
Okay.
So there should be, settings here.
Sorry, go back a step. Where did you click on settings? I didn't see
it
that.
was this, I had to move our little window down here.
Oh, I see. Okay.
This little gear here, I think this is how I would do it. I haven't done this before. And then would it be this one, autoplay text to speech?
Right.
Okay, cool. And then there's no like.
Stop there too. You can also control what happens when you link. You can automatically move to the next link. You can have the link automatically saved. So there's a bunch of stuff.
Right.
Again, we, like everything else, we don't want to overload people with information.
Yeah, but just know that the settings exist, and you can even like down here, this is still the text to speech accent, which is not as, great as having an actual native speaker, but this is helpful to be able to try, you could do a French female or a Canadian French female, for example. And the same goes for Spanish, for Portuguese. You can get different kinds of accents. Which for me is very helpful with studying Spanish.
Right.
But yeah, I do like these two options up here, like paging, flipping to the next page means that any word that was blue, AKA unknown, is going to become known when you flip to that next page. So if you don't want to do that, then you're going to want to uncheck this box.
Right.
Cool.
Okay.
We can close this.
All right. So, today we want to talk about verbs. Are there any things that you find difficult or troubling with regard to verbs in French?
Oh, well, where do we begin? I have read the French grammar guide, which is very helpful.
But French grammar guide.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I went up here just to show everyone where that is. I mean, in case you're not aware of it.
You can move that. Right now, that blocks me. I'm going to move this guy. There we go.
So yeah, over here, you click on your icon in the top right corner, and then you can go to the grammar guide. And because I'm already on French for my lesson, like French here is the language that I'm learning right now, it's going to take me to the French grammar guide. So this is, this quick little overview. And then over here, you can pick your category that you want. So I went into verb tenses in French, and this is amazing. I mean, this is so full of knowledge, and they go over, all of the main tenses, I would say. I don't know if there are more tenses in French, but what I learned in Spanish is that there are so many, and many of them you don't necessarily need to know. But this definitely covers like, all the different present tenses, past tenses, future tenses, and subjunctive, the one that a lot of English speakers have a hard time with.
Right.
So I got a brief, overview and of the irregular verbs too, which are some of the most common verbs. So I definitely haven't memorized like what these endings are or anything, but I read through it to try to better understand verbs in context. So still, this is where I'm at, is trying to understand, what tense of a verb I'm looking at.
I have to say that we of course commissioned these different grammar summaries. I think it's extremely well done. The ability that you can drill into different aspects, whether it be nouns or articles or adjectives or tenses, and that it's just sort of the description of the grammar. It doesn't contain all these annoying tests and drills and questionnaires.
Yeah.
And of course, you can go to this grammar guide time and time again. As you have, questions about verbs or questions about pronouns, you just go to that area, look at it, forget it, and go back to what you're doing. But I think every time you go there, you pick up something. So, but it's hard, right up front to basically absorb it all. It's just not going to happen. But it's a great resource. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's nice to know that I can even save this open on a tab while I'm in a lesson to test myself instead of just immediately going to the translation, for example.
Right.
So yeah, that's
an interesting idea. Yeah.
That's what I've been struggling with a little bit. So anyway, I got to get back to my lesson here. Some people have also commented sometimes it's hard to find the lesson that you were on or whatever. I always just say, you know, find your way back to the library under the lessons tab, and then here, this tab that says my lessons, which might be, you know, in a slightly different place with the new version, but it's going to be the same concept. Any lesson that you've opened will be in.
One thing too, if you look at the underneath library, there is lessons. Sorry, go to my lessons again. Well, even here, sorry, you could have done it here. So you can either choose to look at it as lessons or as courses. Sometimes you need to go to courses in order to find where you were. Right?
Yeah. See, I never really look at it from here. For me, it's just super easy to go straight to my lessons. If I'm looking for one that I already had opened at some point anyway, no, I agree. What I just found that if I have so many different courses that I'm taking lessons from, I prefer to look at it, search it as lessons, because I'm going to find it more quickly. But at any rate, and also we're not going to get it. We can go on forever. Yeah, we have more videos coming.
You can set your landing page as being either on the library or on my lessons. So that
very nice. I did not know that. I'll have to work on that one.
Because I set mine to my lessons because that's where I want to go. And then if I want to go look for stuff in the library, I go to the library. Otherwise, I just show up on my lessons. Anyway.
Perfect. The guru from the guru himself. Okay, so we're going to hop back into Histoire 7.
Sept.
All right, so I turned off my text to speech, so that's not bothering me. And then remind me again how to ignore this word.
What I do, because in the present design, it's very difficult to find the spot where you ignore it. So I just use X.
Perfect.
Keystroke X.
Okay.
Yeah. Now typically as we go through, of course, we get rid of the blue words.
So what do you want me to do? Read the whole sentence or just click the blue word?
First of all, the first thing I do is get rid of the blue word. So do you know the meaning of the word buell?
This is my first time learning it, but yeah, it's completely cognate with English. So I'll go ahead and say I know that word.
You can go I know up top, or you hit K if you're using keystrokes.
I don't know why that's not working. There it goes. Known.
Okay. Now, do you have, and we want to talk about verbs. So as we go along here, if there is a verb issue, you can mention it.
If there's a verb issue, I can mention
it? I think with verbs, it's just a matter of getting used to them. Like the verb, what's the verb here in this? First of all, read this sentence. Why don't we do that?
Okay. Il est très occupé tous les jours.
Okay. Occupé, do you know that word?
No, but I could guess what it means. I would assume it means like occupied, busy.
Busy, exactly.
Here it is right here. Yes. So that's a pretty easy one. That's a cognate with Spanish.
Right. So the other thing is, just getting back to our lesson of last week, is the liaison. So il est très occupé, right?
Très occupé. Très occupé.
Très occupé. Tous les jours. Okay.
Tous les jours.
Verb here is
occupé.
No.
Oh no, that's an adjective. Être.
Voilà. Être. Il est très occupé.
Si.
All right. Yeah, we won't get into it today, but if that was elle est très occupée, we have to put another e on the end of occupé.
Okay.
Because there's agreement for the tense, but we don't want to confuse.
Yeah, but it's he is. So just to translate the sentence for everyone watching, he is very busy every day.
Right.
Il est très occupé.
Très occupé. Très occupé.
Il est très occupé.
Yeah, I don't overdo it, but don't forget liaison. And only over time, and that's why I think it's so important to listen many, many times. These phrases are going to start running around in your brain after a while.
Can't wait.
All right. So
next page?
Yep.
All right. Blue words first.
Yeah.
Nombreuses. Numerous.
Right.
I'm going to save that one. I'm going to mark it a 3.
Yeah. You know what? I just want to stop you. That's very interesting. I do the same. If I see something that I understand, but of course nombreux sounds quite a bit different from numerous. So yeah, it's understandable what it means, but I want to see that word again highlighted because when I review and I reread my lessons, sometimes I'll go in and I'll just do my yellow links, review them in flashcards. So I want to leave that one there so that I can go back and hit it again so that I start to get comfortable with the idea that the word is nombreuse. It's not numéros or anything. It's
exactly. Yeah, because it's kind of cognate, kind of not. Because I'm also thinking the NOMB root. I'm thinking of name, nombre. Like,
voilà. Exactly.
So that's a different word.
Well, no.
Yeah,
Spanish, nombre. But
I'm thinking, Spanish, nom, but still, it's similar.
No. Yeah, in Spanish, nombre. Yeah. Okay. Now.
Okay. So numerous.
Yeah.
Réunion. Did I say it okay?
Yeah. Réunion, absolutely.
Meetings, that's a total cognate.
Yeah.
Avec ses clients.
Ses clients.
Ses clients.
Voilà.
Okay, so should we read the whole sentence?
Sure.
Okay. Il a de nombreuses réunions avec ses clients.
Right. Perfect.
Really? Yeah. Great. He has many meetings with his clients.
Right. And again, you've left the say as in his, even though you know what it means.
Oh, yeah. No, I've been practicing this
but it can be a little bit confusing in French because say with a C is those, right?
There's so many of those words in French, like C-E or then C-E-S-T, like it is.
Yeah.
And then say here. So I like to kind of keep them in my flashcards for a while.
Absolutely. I think that's a smart move.
Yeah. But I definitely understand it in this context.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think the important thing is we use these saved links for different reasons. It doesn't necessarily mean that we don't understand the word, but we want to keep them around to review because it's all a process of gradually becoming familiar with the language, right?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. All right, no blue words here.
Right.
Should I read it?
Yeah, please. And give us the translation while you're at it.
Same time?
Yeah, well, whenever you want, but just people sometimes may not know what it means.
Je n'aime pas ces réunions.
Voilà. We did discuss last week, I think, that the negative has the sort of double barrel.
The 2 parts. Yeah, we did. So, ne pas.
N'aime pas. Yeah.
Je n'aime pas ces réunions.
Voilà. Jean n'aime pas ces réunions.
Jean n'aime pas ces réunions.
Voilà. And we saw here that in the previous sentence you had the S-E-S, his, say, and here you have a C-E-S, though, these, right?
These, yes, it's different.
So we got
actually this one is a 4. I want to change it back to a 3.
Yeah. Another thing that you do there that I always do is I move them back. I might move something to no, and then I'll move it back to 3.
Yeah, and that was another thing, another commenter on the last video said, like, hey, it looks like I have a lot more known words than you do, and you've been practicing longer than me. With the link philosophy, we always tell you, like, if you can understand it in a context, go ahead and mark it as known, but don't worry, you can always, lower the status of that word and unknow it later. Yeah. But the idea is to keep moving forward, keep pushing yourself. And if you can understand it in a context, generally that's when it's known.
Absolutely.
Cool. Next page.
Yeah.
All right. Ils pensent qu'elles sont enseigneuses.
Okay. Okay.
I'm going to translate
let's hit the blue words.
Okay. Qu'ils. And I think...
Quel.
Say it.
Oh, you say it again.
Quel,
yeah.
Quel sont ennuyeuses.
Very good. Now, what do you think those things mean?
So, qu'ils is like they are.
Yeah.
And then I guess I already have the translate here. Boring.
Yes.
And I would have thought that meant something else, though.
Well, it sounds like a cognate of annoying, but it is boring.
How do you pronounce it?
Ennuyeuse.
Ennuyeuse.
Right. So when you think of a word, so U is U, right? If you think the word for night, this doesn't have anything to do with like day and night, but the sound, like nuit is night. Bonne nuit is good night. Nuit. This is ennuyeuse.
Ennuyeuse.
Perfect.
Nice. All right.
Yeah, ennuyeuse. So, but one thing I wanted to point out, first of all, are you going to keep, well, we won't keep them at what are you going to
No, yeah. I mean, I know Kells.
Okay. No, I wanted to stop one time when those phrases come up. Next time.
Okay, this one?
Yeah. So you'll see that we have all the phrases that people have saved relating to quel. It may not be important here, but there are times when these phrases are helpful, is that they exist. Now, what I think is the key phrase here is il pense que. Okay, because the quel is K apostrophe L. L, which is they feminine, plural, like they feminine, right? That refers to the réunion, because the meetings are feminine.
I see,
anything, just as in Spanish, anything that ends in ION is feminine. So the réunions are feminine. So here is elles sont ennuyeuses, and we also see that the ennuyeuse also agrees it's feminine. Because if it's a masculine, it's ennuyeux with an X.
Ennuyeuse.
Right? Ennuyeux, ennuyeux. If it was ils sont ennuyeux, but elles sont ennuyeuses, because you've got to agree. So the subject of that ennuyeux, what is ennuyeux? What is boring? The réunion. The réunions are feminine in French. ION.
Right. Yeah.
Everything that's ION is feminine. So elles sont ennuyeuses. If it was the book, les livres, because it's le livre, the book, masculine, le livre, or les livres sont ennuyeux, with an X at the end, which you don't pronounce. So that's just this, it's important. We're going to get into more and more of this agreement, which is, again, something that's so easy. Even if you understand the principle, it's very difficult when speaking to deliver the on the fly. I mean, it's just you're talking months here of listening, of hearing phrases, of seeing phrases, and gradually you develop these habits. But one thing I wanted to point out here is il pense que. Now, que elle, because you got two E's, the E of the que disappears, right? In other words, wherever you have an not with an accent. If an E with an accent doesn't disappear, but the E which is pronounced as the unaccented if it's followed by a vowel, we get an apostrophe. Always. Like il n'a pas, like il n apostrophe a, he doesn't have, il n'a pas.
Right.
So but the expression, he thinks that je pense que, il pense que, it's a very useful, because we're often having to say, I think, you think, I think that, you think that. So he thinks that, they are boring. Right? So
that they, yes.
Right? Il pense qu'elle. The thing in Spanish is they don't do that. There's no apostrophe for missing E's in Spanish.
Yeah, exactly. I think the closest thing in Spanish is that certain words that are supposed to begin with the words that are supposed to be feminine, but they start with an A, for example,
right,
change to masculine, like el agua instead of la agua.
Right.
Because you get that double A sound or the double vowel sound. It just sounds awkward for that Latino ear. Okay. That's my theory.
All right. Okay. All right. So what are you going to do with ennuyeux? You're going to save it or?
I'm going to save that one.
I think you should,
we'll go ahead and mark that as a 3.
And, it's also important to save it, even if you understood the meaning, just that way, because it encompasses the agreement there, and ennuyeux is a bit difficult to pronounce. Anytime I have a word that I want to just keep around for flashcarding or for whatever, I just keep it. I can always go, whatever. I can get rid of it later on. There's no hurry. My main motivation when I'm linking in a lesson is to get rid of the blue words. I don't like seeing blue words on my page. So if my page is white and yellow, I'm improving. I'm good.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Blue word. Certain. Some. Certain. That sounds pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Clients sont amicaux. On veut. Amicaux. Friendly, amicable. Okay. Yeah. That's good. I'm going to mark that as 3.
Okay.
Envers. Towards. That doesn't mean anything to me. We're going to mark that as a 2.
Right. Sometimes, envers is a very useful word.
Yes, I can imagine.
Yeah. So I sometimes early on, key connector words, key prepositions, words that I really need to structure stuff, I might tag them. Something to do maybe later on. But
you mean add a tag here?
Yeah, you could.
Oh, I see. Like
So, but Sonny, what do you want to call that?
Like a common word?
You could.
And I've never even added a tag before. Okay, so
Yeah.
just hit enter. I'll think of something else that I can.
But it's just to indicate that it is available, because then later on you can look at them in the vocabulary section and they'll all be collected for you.
So is that something that you generally recommend doing? Is taking
early on I tend to tag, because early on in a language everything is just confusion, and so I will even start by tagging like verb, noun. Like if I start into a language, I don't know, Greek or Persian, I don't even know what's a verb, what's a noun. And so to start to make order in what I'm hearing and reading, I sort of tag certain basic. You can always get rid of the tag later on. I find that there is a stage. And then like agreement, might be something that will be difficult for people in French. So I would have a tag perhaps for agreement. I had tags for different cases in Russian. So the advantage of that is you then collect these so that when you go to the vocab section, you can search or sort rather all of your saved links by these tags. So you see 10 examples of this kind of verb or this kind of noun. So I sometimes would tag like things that describe emotions or you're going to find that pronouns create a problem in French as they do in Spanish. I might tag phrases. You can even tag phrases that have pronouns in them. So you get sort of a concentrated exposure to those things. But let's read this sentence.
Okay. All right, here we go. Certains clients sont amicaux envers gens.
Voilà. Okay. So certains clients sont. So right off, we got to make sure that if it's they, certains clients sont. Now, that sounds obvious, but again, it's difficult. We're used to est, certains clients est. No. Certains clients sont, right? So we have to gradually get used to use the right verb. And because it's plural, it's amicaux.
Amicaux.
Right? Because if it was le client est amical, right? If it's one client. But it's certains clients sont amicaux envers gens.
Envers gens.
Voilà, towards gens.
Some customers are really friendly to gens.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start
with the first word. Do you know that word?
So yeah, I know other.
No, before that.
Oh. Néanmoins.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that word not blue?
That's right. So that's right. Huh. So things can happen. You can sometimes, move the page to no.
I probably paged.
And you left something behind.
Yeah.
It's never a problem. You can always go back and reclaim it, and the statistics adjust.
See, there it is.
Néanmoins is a very sophisticated word, actually.
Yeah. Is it not commonly used?
It's not so common. Like there's so many different words. Like I would say that, and I call those connector words. See, nevertheless, although, because those are all the words you need that connect connect words and phrases.
Yeah, like transition word.
You could use cependant, quand même, but here they use néanmoins, which is nevertheless.
Nevertheless. Okay. So you would recommend I just save it as nevertheless here?
Yeah, nevertheless. It's not, however. In fact, it's nevertheless, basically.
Okay, cool. Oh, no.
Okay.
There we go. I'm going to keep that as a 1.
I would.
Okay. And d'autres.
D'autres. No S. You don't pronounce the S.
D'autres.
D'autres.
The others.
Some others.
Some others.
Around, but the sometimes
some.
has the sense of some. Some others. D'autres. You'll see that. It often implies some. Beaucoup d'argent means it has a sense of quantity. I won't say more because you'll gradually get used to that.
Yeah.
So d'autres means some others.
Okay. Désagréable.
Right.
Was that pronunciation okay?
Désagréable.
Désagréable. All right. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty common.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty similar to Spanish. I'm still going to save it though.
Okay.
So, this is interesting. The translation leaves out the word nevertheless.
I know, that's a problem. But yeah, I mean, what can happen here is the English translation comes from the original story in English, because all of the mini stories originated in English. The person who decided to translate them into French probably felt that it would make more sense if we threw in the word nevertheless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So one of the things and so people shouldn't get bent out of shape over this. Languages are imprecise at times. Nothing is perfect. The translation won't be perfect. There's a lot of stuff like that. We just move on. In language learning, we have to accept a certain amount of fuzziness.
Yeah. And I mean, everyone interprets language their own way too. So that's why, from one language to the other language, a translation is never going to be perfect. It's never going to be word for word because it's all the interpreter of the person who's making the interpretation.
Absolutely. Okay. Okay, let's go one more line and then we'll look at the whole page view.
Okay.
Just a second.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see here. Okay, good. Done.
That was a groovy tune.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was Skype. Okay.
Should I read it?
Yeah.
J'en prends de longues pauses déjeuner. Pause déjeuner.
Right. So.
More or less. But okay. De longues pauses. Pause.
Voilà, pause.
Pause. Okay. Break. Do you agree with these? Break, pause, intermission.
Yeah, that's exactly what it means.
Okay, cool. I mean, that can be a 3. Déjeuner.
Right.
I understand is eating breakfast or eating lunch.
Okay, now, yeah.
Lunch is.
Lunch. So one thing that's interesting here is that in Canada, in Quebec, déjeuner can mean breakfast. And as in Spanish, desayuno.
Mm-hmm.
Like in English, déjeuner means to break the fast, right?
Yeah,
desayuno,
right? Yeah.
Break the fast.
Break fast. Yeah.
Jeûne is a fast. So déjeuner would mean normally breakfast. But in France, it means lunch.
Noticed that in some of the other lessons I did. I was like, but wait, is it breakfast or lunch? And it sounds like it's both.
The breakfast in France is called petit déjeuner. Small.
Breakfast in France is le petit déjeuner.
Le petit
déjeuner. You said? Okay. Okay.
So too, but dîner, it varies all over the place.
So how would you say lunch in Quebec?
Well, I haven't spent much time there. They may also use the word déjeuner. but they might use the word dîner as well.
It's
But
all
in English, some people say dinner to mean lunch. Some people say dinner to mean supper.
depends on the time of day you eat too.
It depends on the time of day you eat. It depends on the area.
Yeah, totally.
Like I was going up to northern Alberta, and I thought I was going to dinner, and they were expecting me at lunch.
Oh,
Okay,
so
so
you were.
for them, dinner was lunch, and for me, dinner is evening time.
It sounds like you arrived a little bit late then too.
Yes, I was late for that appointment.
Okay.
Thing, so you might want to save the word déjeuner for
And
lunch.
this is the noun form, right? It's not a verb.
No, you can also déjeuner, but this is the noun form.
Right. Jean takes long lunch breaks. Aha.
But this pause déjeuner, you got to save it
Is
as
lunch break. Yeah. So I wanted to save them individually and separately. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So that'll be a 2. And then lunch breaks, really good phrase to have. Yeah.
Okay. Now, the other thing to remember, pause, yeah. AU is O. Okay. O. It's not O, it's not like in Spanish. AU is O. Okay. There's a town in France called Pau. P-A-U, Pau.
Pau.
Okay. Like beaucoup, right? When we write
Beaucoup.
Pau. So AU is O. So the other thing, de longue pause, right? So again, you see the use of de in the sense of quantity. All right. Now, what I would do if I see the word pont, click on the word pont.
This one? Pont?
Yeah. And you'll see that it's the present tense. We've got various potential tags there. All right. So you could click on this as verb. You can click on it as prendre, il, elle. So these are potential, in fact, it's already tagged for this. These are automatic tags. If you were to go to your vocab section, you could look it up under those tags, or you can add another tag. Now, the other thing I wanted to show, go to the Czech managed dictionaries. Okay. If you, and now we move this guy, it's kind of blocking my view a bit, but
oh, sorry.
If you go to, there are 2 conjugating dictionaries that you can use. Go to the lower section. Okay. Sorry, go back up to the top. I saw it there. To my mind, the best conjugating dictionary is Reverso Verb Conjugator, the third one. One up, there we go. You can also go to Le Conjugueur, but I don't find it as good. So here, if you go through that, move up a little, scroll down, you'll see that it highlights the one you're on, right?
Yeah.
And it shows you the rest of the conjugation of this verb. I find that very useful to do because, let's be honest, we're not going to remember that the third person has no S and je and tu has an S. I mean, we'll remember it now because we're looking at it, but later on you're going to forget it. And so I find that it's very useful when I get to a verb, I go to the conjugating dictionary, I look at the specific form of the verb that I'm on, and I also glance over the other stuff. I'm not going to remember it all, but it's all part of gradually getting used to how that verb works. So we could have done this when we had like être, so that every time you're on il est or elle est, you can click on that, go to the conjugator reverso dictionary and see the full range of conjugations. And also if you have doubts, is this, subjunctive or what tense is it or whatever, it will take you to the spot. This is what you're looking at. So I find it very useful.
Awesome.
And that kind of regular review is helpful to gradually get a sense of the verbs.
Awesome.
Okay.
Great to know.
Yeah, it's useful. One thing I would like to do now, and we'll kind of end this, is go back to the lesson view, the page view. So if we go back to the previous page, so this is what I like to see. We have no more blue words. We have a lot of white words, some yellow words. I can even very quickly review those yellow words on that page, and we're not going to do that today, I could go through them in flashcards. So the process is one of making the pages more and more white and yellow, and then of course listening, and typically here I would put this to a playlist so that it's part of the things that I'm regularly listening to.
And Steve, could you actually show me how to do that? How to add this to my playlist?
Sure. So because I normally do this on my iPad, let us have a look here. Let's go to the what do you call them here? These three dots here. The three dots there.
Ah.
Okay, add to playlist.
Is it here?
Yep.
Cool. Is it that simple?
That's simple. Now, one thing you can do on my iPad, when my course comes up, they have a thing there called play course audio. Okay, so that what would then happen is that all these 60 stories come up as a playlist on my iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
So then I can listen to them and I can jump in wherever I want. I can scramble them. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, you can pause.
Is available here. Click on where it says link mini stories.
Very cool.
Okay. So you got the lesson list. Wonder where you save course audio. Open link. All right, let's get out of that. That's not the place. Let us click on one of these walk video. Can you scroll down where it says salut? No.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't, it's not there. It's somewhere on the right-hand side. Okay, let's try something else. I don't do it. I do it on my iPhone.
Is it from the gear, you think?
Try that again.
And then
no, it's not in here. No. Playlist settings, I don't think so. Audio, no. Playlist size, no.
Okay.
No.
And what is it that you're trying to do?
Well, it's still early for you, but if I've gone through 15 or 20 lessons in a course, rather than saving each one to my playlist, which I can do.
Oh, you want to like mass
I just get
upload
on my iPhone and I just say play course audio, and then I have my iPhone with me, and
right.
I'll always have all of the lessons in that course.
And actually, I don't know if that's what I already have here in my app, but I might be able to show that really quickly.
Okay, but
like this is my playlist. Can you see it?
Oh, I'm looking. Let me just move that forward here. I can't. It's so hard for me to see. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't remember adding any of these to my playlist. I think that these were lessons that I did on the computer.
We're discovering this. I think Mark set it up now so that any lesson that you have studied is on your playlist.
I think that's how it works too. Yeah, I can double check with him, but I didn't add any of those myself. So I just.
Okay. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Okay. Well, look, before we discover more things that I don't know about Ling, should end it here now. All right. So the key then is to keep listening, keep reading, and try to save up any questions that you have, any difficulties that you have.
Okay.
And then next time we can try to focus in on some of those.
Could you, I know we need to wrap up here, but could you give me like a quick study guide for what you recommend for me for the next couple of weeks or for the next week? Because for example, one thing I've heard from you in your videos is reading and listening. So I wonder, should I be reading the lesson and listening to it at the same time? Or is it more a matter of listening when I'm doing other things and then coming back to read afterwards?
Typically what I do is I begin by listening. If it's a language that's very difficult, like for me, Arabic or Persian, then I will begin by listening and reading at the same time, or I don't have a chance. But otherwise, it's just, to me, I do what's convenient, and it's easier just to pick it up and start listening. And so as I listen, of course, a lot of it I don't understand. So then I'm very motivated to, like, what exactly was that? So then I go back in and read it. And then I listen again. So I don't think there are any hard and fast rules. I find that because listening is so easy to do, I do the listening first. It triggers my curiosity. I go back in and I read and I save words. Particularly early on in a language, I will flashcard as I go from page to page. I will sometimes go through sentence by sentence while listening. and it's particularly convenient with the mini stories because we actually have time stamped it so you can hear each sentence pronounced, right? And I think that's very good. So you could go through sentence by sentence, listening to each sentence, saving as you go. Then you go away and you listen to the whole thing. You thought you understood it. Now you listen to it all as one big lesson. You don't understand it now. So you go back and you read it again. And you're going to have to be doing that a lot, especially in the initial period, because your brain has to get used to French. So all of your Spanish helps you in terms of vocabulary and cognates, but it doesn't help you in terms of getting used to the sounds and the rhythm of French. So I would recommend go sentence view, listening to it, choosing words, and then go and listen and then go back in and read again. Maybe do some flashcarding if you're going page view, because if you're doing sentence view, there's only like 2 links. It's not worthwhile. But page view, do some more flashcarding to focus in on those words that you want to spend more time on. Go away and listen. And you'll, lesson 1 to 10, if you end up, because you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 10, back to 1, back up to 10, if you listen to them 10 times, that's not too many. And you'll find that as you move on to 20 and 30 and 40, you'll still be going back to lesson 1, because there will still be things in lesson 1 that you didn't really totally notice or get used to. And at the end of the 60, like those 60 lessons, that's good for 2 months. That's not to say you don't go and explore other stuff, but I find myself always going back to the mini stories to really, develop those solid habits in the language. I don't know if that's helpful.
Yeah, no, it's very helpful. Thanks. And I think next week would be a great idea for us to show the flashcards and what your review method is.
Exactly. Okay. Thanks, Shelby.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve.